Chapter 3. He shot up through cool waters, wondering whether he'd ever make the surface or not. That was a lot of guff about people sinking 3 times and then drowning. He'd been rising and sinking for days, weeks, months, who could tell? But he hadn't drowned. As he came to the surface each time, he fainted into reality, and as he went down again, he fainted into nothingness. Long, slow faints, all of them while he struggled for air and life. He was fighting too hard, and he knew it. A man can't fight always. If he's drowning or suffocating, he's got to be smart and hold back some of his strength for the last, the final, the death struggle. He lay back quietly because he was no fool. If you lie back, you can float. He used to float a lot when he was a kid. He knew how to do it. His last strength going into that fight, when all he had to do was float. What a fool. They were working on him. It took him a little while to understand this, because he couldn't hear them. Then he remembered that he was deaf. It was funny to lie there and have people in the room who were touching you, watching you, doctoring you, and yet not within hearing distance. The bandages were still all over his head, so he couldn't see them either. He only knew that way out there in the darkness, beyond the reach of his ears, people were working over him and trying to help him. They were taking part of his bandages off. He could feel the coolness of the sudden drying of sweat on his left side. They were working on his arm. He felt the pinch of a sharp little instrument grabbing something and getting a bit of his skin with each grab. He didn't jump. He simply lay there because he had to save his strength. He tried to figure out why they were pinching him. After each pinch, there was a little pull in the flesh of his upper arm and an unpleasant point of heat like friction. The pulling kept on in short little jerks with his skin getting hot each time. It hurt. He wished they'd stop. It itched. He wished they'd scratch him. He froze all over, stiff and rigid like a dead cat. There was something wrong about this prickling and pulling and friction heat. He could feel the things they were doing to his arm, and yet he couldn't rightly feel his arm at all. It was like he felt inside his arm. It was like he felt through the end of his arm. The nearest thing he could think of to the end of his arm was the heel of his hand. But the heel of his hand, the end of his arm, was high as his shoulder. Oh, Jesus Christ, they'd cut his left arm off. They'd cut it right off at the shoulder and he could feel it plain now. Oh my God, why did they do a thing like that to him? They couldn't do it, the dirty bastards. They couldn't do it. They had to have a paper signed or something. It was the law. You can't just go out and cut a man's arm off without asking him, without getting permission, because a man's arm is his own and he needs it. Oh, Jesus. I have to work with that arm. Why did you cut it off? Why did you cut my arm off? Answer me. Why did you cut my arm off? Why did you? He went down into the water again and fought, and then came up with his belly jumping and his throat aching. And all the time that he was under the water, fighting with only one arm to get back, he was having conversation with himself about how this thing couldn't possibly happen to him, only it had. So they cut my arm off. How am I going to work now? They don't think of that. They don't think of anything but doing it their own way. Just another guy with a hole in his arm. Let's cut it off. What do you say, boys? Sure, cut the guy's arm off. It takes a lot of work and a lot of money to fix up a guy's arm. This is a war, and war is hell, and what the hell, and so to hell with it. Come on, boys, watch this. Pretty slick, hey? He's down in bed and can't see anything, and it's his tough luck, and we're tired, and this is a stinking war anyhow, so let's cut the damn thing off and be done with it. My arm, they've cut my arm off. See that stump there? That used to be my arm. Oh, sure, I had an arm. I was born with one. I was normal just like you, and I could hear, and I had a left arm like anybody. But what do you think of those lazy bastards cutting it off? How's that? I can't hear either. I can't hear. Write it down. Put it on a piece of paper. I can read all right, but I can't hear. Put it down on a piece of paper and hand the paper to my right arm because I have no left arm. My left arm. I wonder what they've done with it. When you cut a man's arm off, you have to do something with it. You can't just leave it lying around. You send it to hospitals so guys can pick it to pieces and see how an arm works. Do you wrap it up in an old newspaper and throw it onto the junk heap? Do you bury it? After all, it's part of a man, a very important part of a man, and it should be treated respectfully. Do you take it out and bury it and say a little prayer? You should, because it's human flesh, and it died young, and it deserves a good send-off. My ring! There was a ring on my hand. What have you done with it? Karen gave it to me, and I want it back. I could wear it on the other hand. I've got to have it, because it means something. It's important. If you've stolen it, I'll turn you in as soon as I get these bandages off, you thieving bastards. If you've stolen it, you're grave robbers, because my arm that is gone is dead, and you've taken the ring from it, and you've robbed the dead. That's what you've done. Where's my ring? Kareen's ring. Before I go under again. I want the ring. You've got the arm. Isn't that enough? Where's my ring? Kareen's ring. Our ring. Please, where is it? The hand it was on is dead, and it wasn't meant to be on rotten flesh. It was meant always to be on my living finger, on my living hand, because it meant life. My mother gave it to me, said Kareen. It's a real moonstone. You can wear it. It won't fit. The little finger, silly. Try the little finger. Oh. See, I said it would fit. Little Mick. Oh, Joe, I'm so scared. Kiss me again. We shouldn't have turned the lights out. Your old man will be sore. Kiss me. Mike won't even care. He understands. Little Mick, little Mick, little Mick, little Mick, little Mick, little Mick. Don't go, please. Don't go, Joe. When you're drafted, you gotta go. They'll kill you. Maybe. I don't think so. Lots of people get killed who don't think so, so don't go, Joe. Lots of people come back. I love you, Joe. Little Mick. I'm not Mick, I'm Bohunk. You're half and half, but you look Mick. You've got eyes and hair like a little Mick. Joe. Oh, Joe. Don't cry, Kareen. Please don't cry. Suddenly a shadow fell across them, and they both looked up. Stop that! Stop it! God damn you! Old Mike Berkman, how did he get into the house so quietly, was standing above them in the darkness, glaring down. They both lay there on the sofa and stared up at him. He looked like an overgrown dwarf, because his back was crooked from 28 years in the coal mines of Wyoming. 28 years in the mines with an IWW red card, and damning everybody. He stood and glared down at them, and they made no move. I'll have none of this business going on in my house. You think this is the back seat of a flivver? Now get up like a couple decent people. Go on, get up from there, Kareen. Kareen got up. She was only 5'1". Mike swore it was because she didn't have enough food when she was a kid. That probably wasn't the truth, because her mother had been small, and Kareen was perfectly formed and healthy and beautiful. So beautiful. Mike was liable to exaggerate when he got excited. Kareen looked up at old Mike, unafraid. He's going away in the morning. I know, girl. Get into the bedroom, both of you. Maybe you never get another chance. Go on, Kareen. Kareen took one long look at him, and then with her head bent, as if she were a very busy child thinking about something, walked into the bedroom. Go on in there, boy. She's scared. Go on in and put your arm around her. He started to go, and then he felt Mike's grip around his shoulder. Mike was looking straight into his face, and even in the dark, his eyes could be seen. You know how to treat her, don't you? She's no whore. You know, don't you? Yes. Go to bed, boy. He turned and went into the bedroom. An electric candle was burning on one side of the bureau. In the corner of the room beyond the candle, Kareen was standing. Her waist was off, lying in a chair beside her. She was wearing a slip. As he came in, she was twisted around and down a little toward her hip, where her hands were trying to undo the fastening of her skirt. She looked up and saw him, and just looked without moving her hands or anything. She looked at him like she was seeing him for the first time, and didn't know whether to like him or not. She looked at him in a way that made him want to cry. He walked over and put his hands around her carefully. She leaned to him with her forehead against his chest. Then she turned away and went over to the bed. She pulled the covers down and climbed in, clothes and all. She kept her eyes on him all the time, as if she was afraid he might say a sharp word or laugh or go away. She made quiet movements under the covers, and then her clothes began to drop over the side of the bed from between the covers. When they were all on the floor beside the bed, she smiled at him. He started slowly to take off his shirt, not moving his eyes from her. She looked around the room and frowned. "Joe, turn your back." "Why?" "I want to get out of bed." "Why?" "There's something I forgot. Turn your back." "No." "Please." "No, I'll get it for you." "I want to get it myself. Turn your back." "No, I want to see you." "You can't, Joe. Get my robe." "All right, I'll do that. It's in the closet. It's red." He went to the closet and got her robe. It was a thin little thing with flowers printed on it, and not enough to cover anybody, really. He took it over to the bed, holding it a little distance from her. "Bring it closer. Reach for it." She laughed and then reached out quick and snatched it from him, back under the covers. She had to reach so far that he saw the curve of her breast. She laughed softly all the while she struggled under the covers, putting the robe on and pulling it down as if she had played a great joke on him. Then she threw the covers back and jumped out of bed and ran in her bare feet into the living room. He saw the bottoms of her feet as they whisked to the floor. They had two arches, one through the instep and another that crossed it, rising delicately in the ball of her foot and fading away toward the heel. He thought how beautiful her feet are, how strong and beautiful they are. She came back with a bowl filled with red geraniums. He took them over to a little table that stood in front of the window. She opened the window and then turned slowly around to face him. She was leaning against the little table and kind of hanging onto it with her hands at the same time. "If you really want to see me," she said. "But if you don't want me to, I don't want to," I told her. She walked over to the closet and turned her back and slipped off the robe. Then she turned around, watching her feet all the time, and went over to the bed and slipped in between the covers. He turned out the light and took off his clothes and got into bed beside her. He threw his arm around her a little carelessly, as if it were all an accident. She lay very quietly. He moved his leg. A little puff of air came up from between the covers, and he could smell her. Clean, clean flesh and the smell of soap and sheets. He put his leg next to hers. She whirled to him and threw both of her arms around his neck and held him tight. "Oh, Joe, Joe, I don't want you to go." "You think I want to go?" "I'm afraid." "Of me?" "Oh, no." Little Mick. "It's nice like this, isn't it?" "Mm-hmm. Were you ever like this with anybody before?" "Not with anybody I loved." "I'm glad. It's the truth. You?" "You shouldn't ask that." "Why?" "Because I'm a lady." "You're a little Mick." "I never was." "I know. But you couldn't have known, really." "Oh, Joe, I wish you'd run away and not go." "There, my left arm under you, like a cushion. Kiss me." Sweet little Mick. Darling, oh darling. Oh, my dear, my dear, my dear. They didn't sleep very much. Sometimes they dozed off and awakened and found that they were apart and came back to each other and held one another tight, very tight, as if they had been lost forever and had just found each other all over again. And all night long Mike was stirring through the house and coughing and mumbling. When morning came, he stood over their bed holding a breadboard which had 2 breakfasts on it. "Here, you kids eat." Tough old Mike standing there, gentle and grizzled and fierce, with bloodshot, painful eyes. Mike had been in jail too many times not to be good. Old Mike, who hated everybody. He hated Wilson, and he hated Hughes, and he hated Roosevelt, and he hated the socialists because they only had big talk and milk in their veins for blood. He even hated Debs a little, although not much. 28 years in the coal mine had fixed him up for a fine hater. "And now I'm a railroad bull? God damn me, I'm a railroad bull. How's that for a filthy way to make a living?" Mike, with his crooked back from the mines, standing there with their breakfasts. "Here, you kids, hurry up and eat. You ain't got much time." They ate. Mike went grumbling off and didn't come into the room again. When they had eaten, they lay for a while, looking up at the ceiling and digesting their food. "You rumbled." "I did not." Besides, it isn't nice for you to mention it. It was you anyhow. It was a cute little rumble. I liked it. You're terrible. You get up first. No, you get up first. Oh, Joe, kiss me. Don't go. Hurry up, you damn kids. You get up. You. I'll count, okay? 1, 2, 3. They jumped out of bed. It was chilly. They shivered and laughed at each other and almost never got dressed for wanting to stop and kiss. Hurry up, you damn kids. You'll miss the train and then Joe will be shot by Americans instead of Germans. That would be a goddamn shame. There were 4 trainloads of them leaving that morning, and there was a terrible crowd at the station. The whole place, the station and the cars, and even the locomotives were draped with bunting, and the children and women mostly carried flags, little flags that they waved vaguely, vacantly. There were 3 bands, all seeming to play at once, and lots of officers herding people around, and songs, and the mayor giving an address, and people crying and losing each other, and laughing and drunk. His mother and his sisters were there, and Corinne was there, and Mike was there, muttering, "Goddamn fools," and glaring at everybody, and watching Corinne sharply. "And their lives, if necessary, that democracy may not perish from the face of the earth," said the mayor in his address.
It's a long way to Tipperary, it's a long way to go. It's a long way to Tipperary, to the sweetest girl I know.
Don't get scared, Corinne. It's all right. As that great patriot Patrick Henry said,
Johnny, get your gun, get your gun, get your gun. Johnny, show the Hun you're a son of a gun. Hoist the flag and let her fly. Yankee doodle do or die.
As that great patriot George Washington said, "Goodbye, Mother. Goodbye, Catherine. Goodbye, Elizabeth. I'll send back half my pay, and Dad's insurance will hold out until I get back."
And we won't come back till it's over there.
Step lively, boy. You're in the army now.
Pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile, smile, smile.
As that great patriot Abraham Lincoln said, "Where's my boy? Where's my boy? He's underage, can't you see? He just came up from Tucson about a week ago. They had him in jail for a tramp, and I came all the way up here to get him back. They let him out of jail if he joined the army. He's only 16, except he's big and strong for his age. He always was. He's too young, I tell you. He's just a baby. Where is he, my little boy?"
Yeah, well, now goodbye, Ma, goodbye, Pa, goodbye, me with an old hee-haw. May not know what the war's about, but by God, I'll soon find out.
As that great patriot Theodore Roosevelt has said,
America, I love you. You're like a sweetheart of mine. From ocean to ocean, for you my devotion is tucking each boundary line.
"Don't go, Joe. Run away. They'll kill you. I know it. I'll never see you again." Oh, Corinne. Why do they have to have a war right now, just when we found each other? Corinne, we've got more important things than war. Us, Corinne, you and me in a house. I'll come home at night to you in my house, your house, our house. We'll have fat, happy kids, smart kids too. That's more important than a war. Corinne, I look at you and you're only 19 and you're old, like an old woman. Corinne, I look at you and I cry inside and I bleed.
Just a baby's prayer at twilight, when lights are low. That's a baby's prayer at twilight, for her daddy over there.
As that great patriot Woodrow Wilson has said, "There's a silver lining through the dark clouds shining." "All aboard, said a voice.
Over there,
Goodbye, son. Write us. We'll make out. Goodbye, Mother. Goodbye, Catherine. Goodbye, Elizabeth. Don't cry. For you are all Los Angeles' own. May God bless you. May God give us a victory, continued the mayor. All aboard! All aboard!
The Yanks are coming, the Yanks are coming, the drums coming everywhere.
Let us pray. Our Father which art in heaven. I can't pray. Corinne can't pray. Corinne, this is no time to pray. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Corinne, I don't want to go. I want to stay here and be with you and work and make money and have kids and love you. But I've got to go. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Goodbye, Mike. Goodbye, Corinne. I love you, Corinne.
Oh, can you see by the dawn's early light?
Goodbye, Mother. Goodbye, Catherine. Goodbye, Elizabeth.
What so proudly we hailed at the twilight last gleaming.
You in my arms, Corinne, forever.
Whose stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. Goodbye, my son, father, brother, lover, husband. Goodbye. Goodbye, my mother, father, brother, sister, sweetheart, wife. Goodbye, and goodbye. Goodbye, Joe. Goodbye, Corinne. Joe, dear darling Joe, hold me closer. Drop your bag and put both your arms around me and hold me tightly. Put both your arms around me, both of them. You in both of my arms, Corinne. Goodbye. Both of my arms. Corinne in my arms. Both of them. Arms. I'm fainting in and out all the time, Corinne, and I'm not catching on quick. You're in my arms, Corinne. You're in both of my arms. Both of my arms. Both of them. Both. I haven't got any arms, Corinne. My arms are gone. Both of my arms are gone, Corinne. Both of them. They're gone. Corinne. They've cut off my arms. Both of my arms. Oh, Jesus, Mother God, Corinne, they've cut off both of them. Oh, Jesus, Mother God, Corinne, my arms. Chapter 4. It was hot, so hot that he